or if they shot him, got shot in the legs. But again, you're not, even if your leg's shot, you get the bullet in the right place, you sever a femoral artery, you're potentially bleeding out. You saw no urgency on the part of EMTs trying roll him over. Let's get examined. You don't see that. I think this thing was staged. I'll say it up front. This was staged. This was it had some political purpose, whether it was designed to make Donald Trump look sympathetic, whatever. I'm not saying that this guy knew he was part of a staged incident, but he got played into doing it.
Yeah, he's saying there's a stand down. That has a lot of credibility. When I said not staged, I mean a shooting happened, this went on, I think the cops were in on it. But I agree with what he's saying. That's where all the evidence points towards. And you have Levitt saying shots will be fired tonight. Well, that's what you say about arguments or, people fight with each other verbally. I don't think that adds credibility. But what does is Fox News calls mysteriously ends before Caroline Levitt's husband's warning. And he's sitting there with a female reporter saying, be safe tonight. This could be dangerous here. So this needs to be answered. That's a lot bigger than her saying shots fired. All right, thanks for letting me do a 10-minute intro of Viva Frei, with all the great work you do with your popular show and research and obviously legal background. Looking at this, what do you think's going on?
Well, it's a problem. The reality is nobody's going to believe anything, and that is a sign of the times that we're in, is that no matter what happens, people are going to complain, criticize, or say it was staged, faked, whatever. Listening to Larry Johnson, all I'm saying here, watching him, say it was staged because the guy wasn't lit up like a Christmas tree. If it's staged, why wouldn't they light him up like a Christmas tree? They're going to leave a guy who was a patsy
just like
alive?
They got rid of Crooks because there was a second shooter. That's what I said. Yeah.
So like, if
the Secret Service said there were a bunch of people behind them. They didn't want to kill innocent people.
Well, yeah, that's my understanding as to why the shots might have been minimal, is that there's friendly fire. But Larry makes a good point. Like, you take out the threat to the extent he's running in with a gun. And, now that I've read his manifesto, and in his manifesto, he says, I'll be dead unless the Secret Service is grossly incompetent and don't kill me, basically, is what he was suggesting. But if it was staged in the sense that, this is all a big orchestrated event, you would think they would kill him. The fact that he didn't get killed might be a sign that security didn't act fast enough or lethal enough. But, when people say staged, also, let it happen on purpose, made it happen on purpose, you can always say that. But the bottom line is, if you come out within 5 minutes and you say this is staged without any more evidence than that, everybody's been sort of, I say, radicalized or beaten into this seeing conspiracy theories everywhere in the absence of any evidence to support it. It's the default position. The reality, it looks like this kid is a radicalized lefty lunatic who decided to come in from California, realized that it's better to take the train because you don't get checked for firearms, checks into the hotel. And the other reality is that I don't view this necessarily as a security failure. It was a security success, and I'll put that in quotes, for the threat that they were facing, which was an ill-equipped, ill-trained, mentally unwell, radicalized idiot LARPing as a Grand Theft Auto assassin, and who thought he's going to reign terror by running through a checkpoint when in reality he's not going to get very far. So it's a security success for the level of the threat that they've faced. The issue becomes, what if you face a threat that's actually far more trained, far more capable than some radicalized lefty loon who got, radicalized on blue sky because he's, in his insane asylum over there. And then the question becomes, to the extent they're not checking security of people in the vicinity, you have counter-protesters where you're going to have Trump and Vance under the same roof. Lord knows what could have been done if it were, someone brought something in a vehicle, or if you had a group of trained militants. So, yeah, let it happen on purpose, made it happen on purpose, whatever. The event happened until evidence to the contrary. You can hypothesize as to the security weaknesses that facilitated this. But the bottom line is the security met the level of the threat, which was an incompetent, LARPing would-be assassin who writes a memorandum or a manifesto basically illustrating the degree to which he thinks he's so capable that he's going to go run in there and do something,
Well, exactly. And then that's what I said Saturday and Sunday after I had time to research it. I said, looks like a real guy before the manifesto came out. All that still looks like low-level security, which they admit that they didn't have the highest level of security, so that's a question of who's behind that. And then I love how you're supposed to be in a camp. Either it's staged right away or it's not staged. So I said, is it staged? And then said, I think it probably wasn't. And then Laura Loomer says, I said it was staged, I'm a traitor to the enemy. Everybody else then says, no, you're a traitor saying it wasn't staged. Well, like I'm getting brownie points from Trump or something. Trump attacks me. I just report what I really believe instead of thinking what's popular or what do I want to believe. and I've been doing this 32 years, the left was always the super irrational ones, and the right's still better about it, but a lot of the pro-Trump people are very irrational and don't want to even investigate. A lot of the people that were pro-Trump that now hate him, just everything has to be attributed bad to him. It's beyond a radicalization. It's a dumbing down. What would you call this process?
Well, I say it's tribalism, but I put out a tweet the other day where, like, you say tribalism is not a partisan issue, it's a human condition. And so you're going to see as much tribalism on the right as you are on the left. And right now, because President Trump is in power and the Republican or the conservatives are in power, the tribalism, the shutting down of any dissident voice, the demonizing of anybody who dares criticize is coming from the party that's in power.
That's the perfect word. We are going back to tribalism.
Yeah, but tribalism has, I don't want to say genealogical. I don't want to get smarter than I am, but it has evolutionary reasons for existing.
It's a survival mechanism.
It's a survival mechanism, especially when you're, when the party in power is the one that you want to be tribalist for, because that's how you see yourself ensuring your own political preservation. And it explains a lot of the reactions from a lot of the most vocal tribalists out there.
And then the tribalists say, even though this war is disastrous, going to kill the recovery, and they don't want to see that. They just think getting behind the leader, cutting off the thinking process, they then see us as enemies of MAGA, even though we're trying to get it back on course. And that's why tribalism is so dangerous.
There's no question. Tribalism is effectively, you cease thinking critically and you start thinking in groupthink. And it's not anything that is unique to the left. It's a human condition. When it comes to this, I mean, look, we are all in the area of conspiracy reality that has traumatized us to immediately see the most wild conspiracies right off the bat and to trust absolutely nothing. I mean, the amount of tweets I see that say, I don't believe a thing the government says. Oh, okay, fine. I mean, I appreciate that. But if the government says you need to drink 2 cups of water a day, I know independently I need to drink 2 cups of water a day. So the fact that the government says something and the government systematically lies doesn't mean that everything they say
exactly.
is false.
You've got to be, and when Kennedy does good stuff and releases a bunch of good documents, or Gabbard does, you got to realize there's good guys too, not just give up and say everything's bad. But here's an example of tribalism. The Scots couldn't be defeated for 400 years by the British because they were tough and they were tribal. That is a mechanism for survival that is there. But in the modern complex world, when you just go to tribalism like Black Lives Matter or whatever it is, now you've switched off the thinking process. It's extremely dangerous. And in the globalist white papers they talk about, as they dumb us down, we're going to become more tribal, which was their goal.
Well, no, absolutely. And, people, you think historically tribalism kept civilizations alive for hundreds of years. The reality in politics, however, is that the political tides shift very quickly. And sometimes tribalism doesn't ensure success, it actually ensures failure. And so by shutting down and silencing the dissenting, righteously critical voices, you might ensure your survival for a month or two, but not for the long run, because it's not going to make things any different in reality.
Well, that's right. I mean, Erwin Rommel was a Nazi and was pro-Hitler, but when he started saying Hitler's Russia war and all we have to do peace, they made him take cyanide. If they'd have listened to him, the Nazis would have survived. But they killed all the generals that told them the truth because the tribalism had kicked in.
No, but absolutely. And so the reality here, the question is going to be, why even have this event? You have J.D. Vance and Donald Trump. I mean, those are number 1 and number 2 under the same roof, where you literally have unhinged counter-protesters across the street, people checking into the hotel without any security, apparently, from multiple accounts, not just from this idiot's manifesto. Brendan Strzok, I think there were a number of others reporting no security whatsoever. And
Carrie Lake. So yeah, the scandal is, who did this? Was this a stand-down to get Trump killed?
Another weak security. You can't have this many lapses of security where, had it been someone trained who knew what they were doing, the outcome would have been different.
I went to an opera a few months ago in Miami, or outside Miami, and it was the same security they had here. I mean, that's it. You just show you have a ticket to get to the first line, then they check your ticket, you go through macrometers, and if women have bags, they check them. This was literally the same level that I went to an opera at the Hard Rock Cafe.
When I went to the Charlie Kirk Memorial in Arizona, I'm like, I'm realistic. I say this is just the illusion of safety. It's the illusion of security. But, in this event, where you've now had at least 3, but it's more like 5 or 6 attempts on Donald Trump's life, and you have lapse after lapse after lapse. You have the Butler lapse, which was the Pac-Man perimeter that no one's ever going to tell me makes any sense other than a reason. And then you have the exact same lapse in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Then you have
Remember the floor collapse?
Yeah, Ryan Ruth was scouting out a view on the whole floor of Mar-a-Lago. And so the security rose to the level of the incompetence of Paul Allen under this particular circumstance. The real question is, what would have happened if it were a trained assassin or someone coming in with a group of trained people, explosives and whatever, and then you get into the conspiracy. People saying, oh, it was a setup so that they can justify the argument to the ballroom. That's why you had all these people tweeting out the logical, obvious thing. The reality is the security issues for the ballroom was the reason for it in the first place. It wasn't a response to this incident. It was the predicating factor to the building of the ballroom in the first place. So
that's right. I've also seen insane stuff that trended that Erica Kirk had this stage to make her look like a victim. Totally insane. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Is it really? Yo, Stormy, you still in there? Well, why is this shit lagging right now? I thought we took care of all this shit. What the fuck? Okay.
And on the other side, it's got the Jerusalem cross. I did come up with that one, which they think is so evil, which I love. It's a beautiful cross. You got that. Look at this bad boy. Look at this bad boy right here. This has got to be the coolest. It's the Spartans from 300, the real event that happened, and they've got all their phalanx with their shields and their spears. I mean, just look at that craftsmanship. Laser. And look at that. Molon Labe come and take it, which echoes through time to the Alamo and everything else. I mean, just bad ass. I bet these sell out today or two. And all the new t-shirts and everything and a bunch of other huge sales. It is insane. This is a $199 value with inscription for just $79. Did you hear that? VIP $63.99. They make like $10 on that. And when you buy 2 daggers, you get an extra 25% off and can mix and match. This is insane. April 30th is your last chance to get official InfoWars product, probably. So that's a fundraiser too. Get those. Get a lot of limited edition there as well. Third deal, subscribing at 50% off any supplement. Lock it in the future. Cancel anytime. You just lock in the savings if you want it. Not cancel anytime for free. One click. And get a free bottle of Ultimate Chill or Ultimate Energy, which is an amazing energy formula and relaxation formulas, free with every order. And it goes on. Fourth deal, mystery gift and everything. These deals are too good. Actually, these guys are just badass. The LSUstore.com. Part of the Second American Revolution worldwide, advancing on the cut all the way.
Really? Am I frozen?